Hi there and welcome to Scrap and Coffee. We are going to make the pages for our quick and easy mini album. So I've already made a cover with a binding that has 3 hinges and now I'm going to make the pages. So I'm going to start with piece A and this has 1 score line down the middle and we can fold on that one and burnish. And as you can see for yourself, if you do it, you will have 1/8 of an inch difference in those two pieces of piece A. So the next piece is piece B and it has 2 score lines and it's important that you score this in the right way. So you place your piece with the longer side on top and you score at 1/2 inch. And then you turn it clockwise and again score at 1/2 inch. And you want to do it in this order and on the measurements that I gave you, so your score lines are on the right side of the piece. So then we can miter that corner and fold and burnish your score lines. And like always, we will check if those 1/2 inch flaps won't overlap. So now we are going to attach this piece onto our A piece and we are going to do that on the longer of the 2 sides. So we are folding it and the longer one is on the back now, so I'm turning it over. And then we are going to attach piece B with the 1/2 inch flaps on the left and on the bottom. So you can see if you will fit it on top of each other, it will fit nicely and exactly lining up all 4 sides. If it doesn't fit, then perhaps you're on the wrong side of piece A. So keep that in mind. So I'm nicely lining it up and it's a little bit more difficult because that A piece is folded and it intends to come up a little bit. So I just took my time here to get it all straight. Hold it in place. And then remove the rest of the tape backing and stick that down. So this will form our binding page and it will have 2 openings, one on the top and one on the left side. And the part on the left, that's where our hinge is going to be. So we are going to put this piece aside and we are going with piece C. 1 score line and tape on a dented side between the score line and the cut edge, and we are going to taper that 1/2 inch and fold on the score line. And this will go on top of piece A and again on the longer of the 2 sides. So actually where the binding is, the pocket on the top, that's where we're going to line it up. And then again you will have 1/8 of an inch space on the bottom. So I'm turning my piece A over because it's a little bit easier for me to see. And then remove the tape backing partially again. And just line it up. And give that a burnish. So you have that spacing, the 1/8 of an inch spacing, so all your flaps will fold over each other nicely without any problems. And then we are going to make the flaps that make the closure. So this is piece D and E. And I'm going to round the corners on piece D. It helps later on to get the flap slide under the belly band a little bit easier. But you don't have to do it, it's whatever you like. So piece D has 2 score lines and you can fold on both of them, so this piece will have a little gusset. And then we will do the same thing for piece E. This will form a small belly band and we are going to place that belly band on top of piece D. and I'm going to place it where I start the rounding of the corner. I'm going to place it just where those roundings start. You want to have it a little bit more to the top of your piece. So I'm just removing the tape backing here, and you will see in a minute that I'm going completely crooked with this. But that's okay, I'm going to fix it. So here I'm just eyeballing where I want it, and then I thought I had it straight, but that was not the case at all, as you can see. So yeah, that was not coming off anymore. So I got my undo, and yeah, got that loose so I can get it straight in a sec when it's dry again. So while that's drying, I'm going to determine where I'm going to place it on the piece, because I want to have it centered. So I'm just leaving that to dry, and I'm going to place this on top of the bottom of piece A. And I'm going to get my ruler, at least, yeah, if I can find it. And I'm going to determine the center of the piece. And then I'm going to see the amount of space that I have on both sides. And what I came up with is that you want to make a little pencil mark 2 1/8 of an inch from one of the corners, doesn't matter from what side, and then you will have an even spacing on both sides. So after I've made that pencil mark, I'm going to stick that belly band down, and what I'm going to do here is I'm using the grid of my cutting surface to line up the piece straight, and then use the line 1/2 inch next to it to place that belly band, line up the belly band, and then it's straight. So now I already know where I'm going to place this piece. I've made a little pencil mark for that, so I can remove the tape backing. And make sure that you fold it on your 1/2 inch score line for this, for placing it, and then you line up the bottom. And with your pencil mark, of course. And give that a quick burnish. So now, in order to make the closure for this, we need a photo mat that goes in the top pocket. And that's our piece F. And we are going to place another flap on top of that. That's piece G. And again, I will round the corners on piece G, so that everything goes a little bit easier. And also piece G has 2 score lines, so again you have a little gusset. So fold on both of those score lines. And then we need to determine where we want to have this piece G on top of piece F. Now you don't want to center it on piece F, because that will go completely wrong. You are going to place your piece F in that top pocket, and of course you don't have your hinge there yet, so you need to take that in account. You will place it more to the right than to the left. You want to stay away at least 1/2 inch from your left side. So what I did is I kept about 1/8 of an inch from the right side, and that's how my photo mat will be placed in the pocket after everything is done. And then I will get that piece G, shove that under the belly band, because that's where you want it to be at the end. Make sure that everything lies straight, and again I'm using my cutting surface to do this. And then I will make a pencil mark on where piece G is lying on that photo mat. And then take everything out, because that's just easier, for me at least. And then I know where I can stick that belly band down. So again, fold on your 1/2 inch score line and line up the top and place it in between the pencil marks that you just made. And then you will see that that flap is completely off-centered on your photo mat, but that's just how it's gonna be. And then when we place that in that pocket, and of course now it won't stay very well, but we can shove that in underneath the belly band and keep everything closed. So that's the front of the page. Then we turn it over and we go and work on piece on the B side. And for that we have 2 smaller pieces, I believe H, yes. Both have 1 score line and tape on the dented side between the cut edge and the score line. And you want to lay the pieces mirrored from each other and taper those half inches. So we are going to do that for both flaps. And then we are going to fold on our score lines. So it comes together really quick, really easy. Once you've done one page, you just bang them out actually. So here I'm just seeing if everything will fit on that piece. And here it seemed that it was going to fit. So I'm going to place them, one on the left and one on the right of piece B, lining up in this case first the left edge and the top and the bottom. Making sure everything is straight and then remove that tape backing. And then we are going to do the same thing on the other side. So again, line up the edge and the top and the bottom. Burnish it, and then I'm going to check how they lay next to each other, and then I just had a hair of overlapping. They just didn't open and close as nicely as I would like. So I've decided that I'm going to cut off just a hair, and I mean a hair, of both pieces. Eventually I ended up doing this on all 3 of my pages because I rather have it that I need to adjust it a little bit than they are too small and my gap is too big to my liking. That's something I cannot fix. This is something I can fix. So I'm cutting off a really tiny hair. So I really had to get in there to make sure that everything was straight. And you see it's really tiny that I cut off. And then when I close it, there is this small gap in between the pages. But that's how it looks good to me and functional. So then we are going to place 2 pockets on top of that. So these are our pieces I, and they have 2 score lines, and you place them again mirrored from each other. Place tape on the dented side, miter the corner where the score lines overlap, and then we are going to make some pencil marks to angle these pockets. So on the top we are going to measure from the cut edge where there is a score line 1 3/4 inch. Make a tick mark, and then from the bottom cut edge we are going to measure 1.5 inches. Make a little tick mark and connect those tick marks, and that's going to be where you are going to cut. And we're going to do the same thing. So here I'm measuring 1 3/4 on the top from the edge with the score line, and here 1.5 inch from the bottom, and connect those score lines. And we are going to cut. So I lay these pieces next to each other to see if the lines start at the same height, so no mistakes are made, and then we can cut on those lines. So I'm using my paper trimmer here. You can do this with a scissor or your ruler and your knife, just whatever you prefer. So we do this on both pieces. And then we can fold and burnish our score lines. So that's one, and the other one. and these are going on top of those flaps. And I'm going to remove the tape backing from both pieces completely. And what you want is you want to line up the corner of your pocket with the outside corner of your flap. So you will have a little bit of space on the inside, about maybe 1/4 inch, a little under 1/4 inch. So again, here I'm removing all the tape backing, and I am placing that corner of the pocket on top of the outside bottom corner of my flap. Line up the side and the bottom. And then you will have your 2 angled pockets on top of there, and then you will have a photo mat, and the measurements for that are also in the cutting guide. You can slide it behind it, and here I forgot to cut the width to size, so I just eyeballed it here that I cut off about 1/8 inch. The measurement in the cutting guide will be the right measurement for it. So you will be able to place a 6x4 on that photo mat, but you need to crop the 6-inch sides slightly for that, really slightly. So then that will fit, and that will keep everything closed again. So that's your page, actually. That's all there is to it. So we are going to put it inside the cover, and I don't have a tutorial for the cover. I have several videos on my channel on how I do the covers, on how I do bindings, so you can use those. The measurements for them are in the cutting guide, so you can use that and then just make your cover. So we are going to place the page on the hinge on that left opening side of your binding page, and it's a little bit harder to get your page straight on there, so you really have to take your time on making sure you're straight. On the other hand, it's a little bit easier to get that hinge in that page. So I'm doing one side first, give that a burnish, and then turn it over to the back, and then remove the tape backing there. And then you can stick the whole page down. Now on my inside covers I just did a simple pocket. The measurements for those are also in the cutting guide. I'm not going to show you in the tutorial, it's just a pocket that I've stuck down on the inside cover. So you will make 3 of these pages, and then you are done. Now here you are going to place that photo mat in the top pocket, and it will fit. However, in this stage you will bump up against the construction strip on the bottom of that pocket, and that can make putting your photo mat in there pretty difficult, as you can see right here. So what I did during my decorating, I just got a piece of plain printer paper, cut that to size to fit in there, and stuck that in the pocket all the way to the bottom, so you go over that binding strip that you have on the bottom. And then when you're done decorating, your photo mat will slide over that piece of paper, and you won't bump up against that strip anymore, and your photo mat goes in there a lot easier than it goes right here. So that's a little tip. Don't use your expensive pattern paper for it, just use simple printer paper. And then we have it. So this is the album. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next video.